Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to the Weigh In Podcast. It is the final episode of the Meet the Fighters series as we meet the heavyweights. It's a little bittersweet that this series is coming to an end. It's been so much fun to make these episodes and record these and talk about all these fighters, but we got one last division. At the same time, it'll kind of be a little bit of a relief that it's over just so I can begin getting more of a podcast style setup. The face cam, just talking to you guys a little bit more about various topics throughout the sport, but it's been so much fun. We got one more to go. Let's just get through these top 15 and then we can fully unload into the 2026 calendar year for the UFC. Right now it is currently Wednesday, January 21st. We have just 3 days before the first card of the year. So these rankings will immediately begin to change come Saturday, but it's been so much fun bringing this to you guys. So without further ado, the final episode of Meet the Fighters. Let's get into the heavyweights, beginning with the 15th ranked contender. And I believe this is the youngest guy in the division. It is Talison Teixeira. Teixeira is 8-1 in his UFC career with notable wins over Justin Tafa and Arthur Lopez. Very powerful striking as he has won 88% of his wins. That is 7 of his 8 wins coming by way of knockout. Never seen a second round in his entire MMA career as well, whether it's his 8 wins or his 1 loss. Never even been out of the first round. He did begin his MMA career 8-0. His last fight was a main event against Derek Lewis, and it was kind of an embarrassing one. Got knocked out in the first round in just 35 seconds. But as I mentioned, he's still extremely young, so plenty of time for him to rebound. He's still pretty promising for this division. Did win a performance bonus before that against Justin Tafa in his UFC debut, which ironically enough also lasted just 35 seconds. So he's literally got a minute and 10 seconds of cage time in the UFC, and he's already in the rankings. Just kind of goes to show how thin the heavyweight division is right now, to be completely honest with you. But either way, he's still a prospect in a division that is starving for prospects, and he at least has a big name coming up. He's welcoming back Tai Tuivasa on January 31st on the second numbered event of the year, UFC 325 in Australia. So big matchup for Teixeira. I believe that's on the main card of UFC 325. So that would be a massive bounce back if he could put away Tai Tuivasa with another first round finish. Coming in at number 14, this is probably the hottest prospect in the division right now, and that is Brazil's Walter Walker. Walker is 15-1 in his MMA career, notable wins over Kennedy and Nzechukwu, Don'Tale Mayes, and Junior Tafa. He held the Titan FC and MMA Series and Arena Global heavyweight titles outside the UFC, and he is the younger brother of light heavyweight contender Johnny Walker. So they look nothing alike. I believe they have the same dad and different moms, if I remember right. But either way, they are half brothers. So the younger brother is Walter, dominant grappler, and that shows in his last 4 fights. He has won every single one of them by the same method, heel hook. That's never happened in the UFC before. 4 straight first round heel hooks. That is absolutely insane. And he's going to have his toughest test to continue that streak as he gets Marcin Tybura on March 28th. That is going to be a very tough test for Walter Walker, but he really is starting to seem like a legit threat at heavyweight, a very interesting prospect to keep your eye on in the new year. And if he can beat Marcin Tybura, and especially if he gets another heel hook, that's just going to be absolutely insane. There is no way he gets 5 in a row in the first round. That would just be insane. But either way, it's going to be a very fun fight because Tybura's got pretty good grappling as well. So I'm very interested to see how that fight's going to play out. But with the heavyweight division being in the state that it's in, personally, I think 1 or 2 wins could put Walter Walker in the top 5. Honestly, I really do believe he has that kind of potential. He's a very interesting guy to keep an eye on. So we'll see what happens for Walter against Marcin Tybura, but that could be a coming out party for him if he hasn't had it already. Coming in at 13, we have another up-and-comer. Actually lost his last fight against Marcin Tybura, so Tybura looking to get past the second young guy in a row. But we are talking about England's Mick Parkin. Parkin is 10-1 in his MMA career, was 10-0 before that loss to Tybura, but does have some good notable wins over Lucas Drevsky, Muhammad Usman, and Jamal Pogues. Outside the UFC, he held the Olympus FC heavyweight title and multiple amateur titles as well. Has won 60% of his wins by KO TKO, just one submission, the rest going the distance. So definitely does have good striking and did win a performance bonus for his win over Dresky as well. As I mentioned, his last fight was a tough test against Marcin Tybura all the way back in March of 2025. Did lose that one. Have not seen him since, but hopefully he'll get back soon, early in the new year. Mick Parkin, a guy that, again, I can't say it enough. This division is starved for new contenders right now. So a guy like Mick Parkin, if he can get back on the horse and get another quality win or two, he's going to be right there around that, middle tier of the top 10. So still not far away. And he's younger for the division as well, still just 30 years old. So plenty of time for Mick Parkin to get it together and make a run at heavyweight. Coming in at number 12, we got a guy that's been around in this division for a while. We have not seen him for the last year and a half. He last fought in August of 2024, but is coming back on January 31st, and that is Tai Bam Bam Tuivasa. Tuivasa is 14-8 in his MMA career with notable wins over Derek Lewis, Augusto Sakai, Greg Hardy, Stefan Struve, and Andrei Arlovsky. Held the Australian FC heavyweight title outside the UFC and defended that once. Tuivasa is a fan favorite because of his knock him down, drag him out style. 93% of his wins coming by way of KO TKO, and has won 5 performance bonuses in 16 UFC fights as well. Unfortunately, he is on a 5-fight losing streak, but he has lost to some of the best in the division. So just not able to cut it at the top of this division, but took a long time off. And even despite the lengthy career and the long time off, he's still only 32. So if he's really in as good a shape as he says he is, then maybe he still has potential to go on a run. I mean, we've seen what he can do when he's at his best. So if he really, maybe he took some time off to find himself. It looked like he kind of got out of shape for a little while, to be completely honest. But the recent stuff I've seen of him, he looks to be in much better shape. So if he's really taking this thing serious, he could still emerge as an interesting contender in this division. I'm not too sure about that, but if you're into some of the viral stuff online too, I'm sure you see him do the shoey where he takes a beer, puts it in someone's shoe, and chugs it out of the shoe. It's pretty disgusting, but that's kind of what got him on the map and got him famous. And he is a fan favorite just because of his fun attitude and fun approach to life. But I really hope for him because he really does seem like a good dude that he can get his stuff together and get back in the win column. Taliesin Teixeira is going to be a very tough comeback fight for him, but if he's in shape, he's got a chance against anybody. He can knock anybody out if he finds their chin. So Tuivasa, always dangerous. We'll see how he looks in January in his comeback fight. Coming in at number 11, we have Shamil Gaziev representing Bahrain and Russia. He currently represents Bahrain and lives there as well, but was born and raised in Dagestan, Russia. 14-2 in his MMA career with notable wins over Dontail Mays, Martin Budai, and Darko Stosic. Former IMMAF amateur champion and began his MMA career undefeated at 12-0 before finally running into Biggie Boy Yarzino Rosenstruik inside the UFC. He did win a UFC performance bonus in his debut for his win over Martin Budai, just took 56 seconds into the second round to put him away, and has finished 64% of his wins. That is 9 of 14 by knockout. Gaziev is an interesting one because he did seem like a pretty fun prospect and still just 35 years old, but did lose his last fight. It was a first-round knockout against Waldo Cortez Acosta, so a tough loss for Gaziev in his last bout back in November, but looking to get back on the horse. And Waldo was actually a short notice replacement for Sergey Spivak as well. That fight had been canceled 3 different times, so Gaziev just wanted to fight. So unfortunately, it backfired. He got finished, but still has potential to move up in this division. I don't quite know if I'd say he has championship potential. That remains to be seen, but still can make some waves in the division and get some wins over some very impressive guys moving forward. But now we crack the heavyweight top 10, and we've got a guy that's been at the top of this division for the better part of the last decade, and that is Poland's Marcin Tybura. Tybura is 27-10 in his MMA career with notable wins over Mick Parkin, Tai Tuivasa, Blagoy Ivanov, Alexander Romanov, Walt Harris, Greg Hardy, Ben Rothwell, Sergey Spivak, Stefan Struve, Andrei Arlovsky, and Ante Delia outside the UFC. Tybura's been around for a while. He held the M1 Global Heavyweight Championship outside the UFC and defended that belt twice. And in his UFC career spanning 23 fights, he has won 4 performance bonuses as well. Pretty good wrestling and grounded pound. He definitely prefers to be more dominant and active on top. Um, but in terms of career finishes, it's pretty even across the board between decisions, subs, and KO TKOs. But a lot of those knockouts are by ground and pound, so just noteworthy there. And a very interesting opponent for him. We mentioned earlier he's scheduled to fight Walter Walker in his next fight on March 28th. Stylistically, I think that's going to be a very interesting matchup and a fun fight to watch. Big test for Walker going up against one of the veterans of this division. And Tabura at 40 years old, I just don't see a title run in him, but he has absolutely been a divisional stalwart for a long time, a great litmus test for a lot of these younger guys. So we'll see where Walter Walker's at in this matchup against Tabura. And Marcin is going to be a tough one for him. He's not going to go away easily. So I think that's a great test for Walter Walker. Good matchmaking, finally. Coming in at number 9, a guy that's pretty new to the UFC audience, but in terms of all of MMA, he's not that new. Fans that have been in the know have known about him for a while, and that is Croatia's Ante Delia. Delia is 26-7 in his MMA career with notable wins over Marcin Tybura, Jorgen De Castro, Maurice Green, Henan Fedeta, Valentin Overeem, that is Alistair's younger brother. And yes, he beat Rico Rodriguez in 2012. That's insane. Rico was the heavyweight champion in the UFC back in 2002. For context, just crazy. But Delia did win a PFL heavyweight tournament that came back in 2022. Won the final against Matthew Scheffel. Pretty well rounded, and he's got good striking as well. He is a protege of Mirko Krokop, which of course the hardcore fans know that Mirko was a devastator back in the day. So good striking, but can definitely hold his own on the ground. Has won 7 fights by submission as well. Did win a performance bonus in his UFC debut, a win over Marcin Tybura, a very impressive win. Unfortunately, did fall short in his last fight against Waldo Cortez Acosta. That seems to be a common theme for some of these guys, and you'll see that in a little bit. But scheduled for a bounce back fight against Sergey Spivak, and I think that's a very interesting matchup for this division. Delia is 35 years old, so kind of right in his heavyweight prime. So Spivak is a guy that he would need to get past if he wants to potentially challenge for a UFC title at some point. A lot of people very excited about Delia, think he has a lot of potential inside the UFC, but Spivak is going to be a perfect test for him to really see where he's at in terms of his development. Now, coming in at number 8, this is probably the biggest fan favorite in the division. Hard to find a person that will hate on this man, and that is the Black Beast himself, Derek Lewis. Lewis is 29-12 in his MMA career, and this notable wins list is long, so bear with me. He's beaten Talishin Teixeira, Rodrigo Nascimento, Curtis Blades, Alexei Olenek, Blagoy Ivanov, Alexander Volkov, Francis Ngannou, Marcin Tybura, Travis Brown, Shamil Abdurahimov, Roy Nelson, and Gabriel Gonzaga. He held the Legacy FC heavyweight title outside the UFC, defended that belt once, and also challenged for the heavyweight title and undisputed championship against Daniel Cormier. That was at UFC 230 back in 2017, 2018, 2018. Apologies, 2018. That he challenged Daniel Cormier. He also challenged for the interim heavyweight title against Cyril Gahn, but did come up short in that as well, so has not quite been able to capture UFC gold. But a title that he does hold, he is the all-time knockouts leader in the entire history of the UFC. So the Black Beast is the KO king inside the UFC. No one has scored more knockouts in their UFC career than Derek Lewis. 83% of his overall MMA wins come by way of knockout. That is 24 of them in his MMA career. That's just crazy. Big fight coming up for him. He is scheduled to fight the streaking Waldo Cortez Acosta on the first card of the year. That is coming up this Saturday. So we got the Black Beast in action in 3 days. Cannot wait to see him. He's been on a little bit of a resurgence as well lately, winning 3 of his last 4. His only loss coming against Jailton Almeida. Not a very fun fight, but his last fight, he put Talishin Teixeira away in just 35 seconds. So Derek Lewis can still swing and bang with the rest of them, if you know what I'm saying. Even at 40 years old, he can still hold his own with some of the youngsters. So Waldo Cortez Acosta going to be a big test for him. We'll see what he can do. Coming in at number 7, a guy that has kind of been threatening to push the top of this division for a few years now. And considering he's still only 30 years old, I absolutely think he's going to crack the top 5 at some point. and that is the polar bear Sergey Spivak from the Republic of Moldova. 17-6 in his MMA career with notable wins over Marcin Tybura, Derek Lewis, Augusto Sakai, Greg Hardy, Alexei Oleinik, Tai Tuivasa, and Travis Fulton. For those of you in the know, Travis Fulton had nearly 300 MMA fights, maybe more, I'm estimating. He won like 225 fights or something crazy. So those in the know Travis Fulton. Spivak has a win over him. Held the WWFC heavyweight title outside the UFC and managed to defend that belt twice before coming to the UFC. Dominant grappling as well, with 47% of his wins, coming by way of submission, but 7 by KO TKO as well, so is pretty diverse. Has won 2 UFC performance bonuses in 14 fights as well. Unfortunately for him, though, has hit a little bit of a skid, has lost 3 of his last 4, but the 3 losses, nothing to be ashamed of. Coming against Cyril Gane, Jalton Almeida, and Waldo Cortez Acosta. As I mentioned, though, Spivak is still only 30 years old, so despite the rough patch, I still think he's got a lot of potential. He's got a lot of high-level experience at just 30. He's probably got another good 7, 8 years left in him at the top of this division, so I still absolutely think he's going to crack the top 5. And he's got a good chance. He's going to fight Ante Delia on February 21st, or at least he's scheduled to. And if he wins that fight, I think that's going to be a massive comeback win for him. A guy like Delia, where a lot of fans are high on him, if Spivak can beat him, especially in exciting and dominant fashion, he could really steal a lot of the momentum that Delia currently possesses. So if Spivak can get that win, that would be absolutely huge for his career. And I think it could even be a turning point for him moving forward. Coming in at number 6, and a guy that seems to have a lot of talent, but for some reason just can't really find that excitement level that the fans are looking for, and that is Jailton Almeida. Almeida's 22-4 in his MMA career with notable wins over Sergey Spivak, Alexander Romanov, Derek Lewis, Jairzinho Rozenstruik, and Shamil Abdurakhimov. Held the Thunder Fight and Fight On light heavyweight titles outside the UFC, and I believe he debuted in the UFC at light heavyweight as well, but bumped up to heavyweight. In his overall MMA career, he had a 15-fight win streak before he ran into Curtis Blades and lost his last fight to Alexander Volkov as well. Very dominant grappling, but almost too dominant in the sense where he plays it safe. He doesn't always necessarily go for the finish. And it's kind of weird looking at his record because he only has 3 fights in his career that have gone the distance, but he just seems to play it safe a little too much for people's liking against the elite of this division like Blades and Volkov. He just kind of laid and held. In the Volkov fight, he honestly dominated on top, and you'd think he'd get the win from that, but Volkov was striking from the bottom while Almeida just laid on top of him. Didn't do anything. He controlled where the fight went. He was dominant on top, but just did nothing. And so they gave the win to Volkov. So Almeida's a guy that he's so good because he can control anybody. And he was controlling Curtis Blades until Blades just started dropping elbows on his head. But he has the talent. He has the skill. He's just not putting it together with the activity when it comes to fighting the best of the best. So I'd like to see him turn that around. He's a great talent, and he's got a chance to turn things around. He's fighting Rizvan Kuniev, a guy that just lost a split decision to Curtis Blades. So Kuniev has a lot of momentum, and Almeida could steal that right back. I mean, he's an interesting prospect, more contender than prospect now, but that's the thing. When heavyweight is so starved for contenders, Almeida's right there, and he might be the best of them when he's on. He just has to perform, and he just hasn't. So you want to see him turn that around because I truly believe if he had that finishing instinct against these top guys and was more aggressive, he has the talent to beat these guys. But he's just playing it a little too safe against the best of the division. So if he goes out there and makes a statement against Kuniev, that would be huge for him. The division's wide open and hungry for contenders. He's right there. He's just got to put the talent with the activity, and he'll be just fine. But now we crack the top 5, and a guy that has the talent and has put it together with the activity is Waldo Cortez Acosta. Salsa Boy is 16-2 in his MMA career with some good notable wins over Shamil Gaziv, Ante Delia, Sergey Spivak, Ryan Spann, Robelis to Spain, and Andrei Arlovsky. He held the LFA heavyweight title outside the UFC and has been very active inside the organization as well. Last year competed 5 times and went 4-1 with his only loss coming against Sergey Pavlovich. No loss to be ashamed of at all. Actually began his MMA career 9-0 before running into Marcus Rogerio de Lima back in 2023. That was his first career loss. Went on a 5-fight run before losing to Pavlovich, and now has won his last 2 with performance bonuses in each. 50% of his wins do come by way of KO TKO, and he has been incredibly exciting with those lately. His last 2 fights, winning by first round knockout. And the biggest name of his career so far, he's scheduled to fight Derek Lewis this weekend. I'm so interested to see that fight. A guy that's been knocking out a lot of his recent opponents, knocked out 3 of his 4 victories in 2025. And going up against the KO King and Derek Lewis, I think that's a great fight. This is very fun matchmaking and a fight that's going to be fun for the fans, especially being on the first Paramount card. You want to introduce people to the heavyweights, this is the way to do it. 2 knockout artists, just get in there, let them swing, let them throw leather, see who connects first. It's going to be a great fight. And again, in the division, very hungry for contenders. Waldo Cortez Acosta is taking the division by storm and still just 34 years old as well. So he's absolutely a threat to the rest of the top 5. I think he's going to have a very big and fun 2026. Could end up seeing him in a title fight sooner rather than later as well. Coming in at number 4, a guy that has been at the top of this division for a long time. Seems like he's been on the cusp of a title shot for years and just comes up short on the last step before it. It is Curtis Blades. Blades is 19-5 in his MMA career with notable wins over Rizvan Kuniev, Jailton Almeida, Tom Aspinall, Jairzinho Rosenstruik, Alexander Volkov, Junior Dos Santos, Shamil Abdurahimov, Alistair Overeem, Mark Hunt, and Alexei Olenek. Held multiple amateur titles outside the UFC and also did get an interim title shot against Tom Aspinall, did come up short. And I guess I should note, too, a little disclaimer about his Tom Aspinall win. Aspinall did injure his knee in the first round, and that was why the fight ended. Technically, in the record books, it's a win for Curtis Blades because Aspinall did go down with an injury, and technically that's a retirement from the fight. Just fight's over, fighter got injured. So technically still a win for Curtis Blades, but a little bit of an asterisk there, kind of similar to the Josh Van Alexandre Pantoja situation. But a win on his record nonetheless, so I included it. But did rematch for the interim heavyweight title, and Aspinall demolished him. It was over in the first round. May have even been the first minute. I think it was stopped right at the first minute, as a matter of fact. But either way, 4 UFC performance bonuses in his career and very dominant wrestling, but his striking has really come along nicely throughout his career. Ironically enough, with as dominant as he is on the ground, he's never won by submission, and he has 13 wins by KO TKO. Now, most of those are ground and pound. That win over Alistair Overeem, by the way, with those elbows was absolutely disgusting. Split the Reem wide open. Go take a look if you've never seen it. Probably the biggest win of Curtis Blades' career and the most destructive. Chris Dawkins' knockout was pretty cool as well on the feet, but it's a crazy number to think of Blades as a wrestler, but wins all of his finishes by knockout. So, interesting note for Blades. After losing to Aspinall, he did bounce back with a split decision win over Rizvan Kuniev, and Kuniev was a guy that had a lot of hype behind him, so a big win for Blades. Not quite sure what they're going to do with him next. He's kind of in a weird spot where he's not going to challenge for a title, but still needs to fight some of the highest guys in this division. You can't just feed him lower ranked prospects over and over. He's too good. Um, Still only 34 as well, so he's been at the top of this division for a while and still has plenty of time, so he could still get better and work back towards that title picture at some point. But Blades has been in the top 10 for the better part of the last decade. I expect him to stay here for at least another 5 years or so. Coming in at number 3, a guy that looked like an absolute destroyer before he ran into the current champion, and that is Sergey Pavlovich of Russia. Pavlovich is 20-3 in his MMA career with notable wins over Waldo Cortez Acosta. That win is aged beautifully. Jairzinho Rosenstruik, Curtis Blades, Tai Tuivasa, Derek Lewis, and Shamil Abdurakhimov. Held the Fight Night's global heavyweight title outside the UFC and defended that belt once, and also did manage to earn an interim title shot against Tom Aspinall. Did lose that fight in the first round. That fight was stopped just after the first minute, so rough loss for Pavlovich, but Lost his next fight as well, but got back on the horse with the last two with wins over Rosenstruik and Cortez Acosta in 2025. Has earned 4 UFC performance bonuses in 11 fights as well, and was earning a lot of knockouts. Made his UFC debut against Alistair Overeem. No shame in that loss. The Reem was one of the best in the world at the time. And then knocked out his next 6 opponents in the first round. That is crazy. 6 in a row, all by first round KO, is just ridiculous. And 75% of his wins, that is 15 of his 20, coming by way of knockout as well. Never won a fight by submission either, so he prefers to go in there and just run through people. Does not have a fight on the books at the moment, but Pavlovich firmly entrenched inside that top 5. Should get another big opponent. I would say run it back with Curtis Blades, but Pavlovich did finish him already. So, I don't know, but kind of in a weird spot where you don't really know what to do with him at the moment, but still a top contender. You got to give him somebody. So, Pavlovich at number 3, firmly entrenched in the top 5. Maybe gets another shot at undisputed gold someday. Who knows? Coming in at number 2, a guy that's been at the top of the heavyweight division in all of MMA for a while, held a championship outside the UFC in a major promotion. That is Alexander Volkov, fitting nickname Drago, of course, after Ivan Drago from the Rocky movies. Volkov in 50 career fights, yes, 50 fights, is 39-11 and a long notable wins list, including Jailton Almeida, Sergey Pavlovich, Tai Tuivasa, Alexander Romanov, Jairzinho Rozenstruik, Marcin Tybura, Alistair Overeem, Greg Hardy, Fabricio Verdum, Stefan Struve, Roy Nelson, Blago Ivanov, and he also beat Rico Rodriguez, also in 2012. How crazy is that? He held the M1 Global Heavyweight Championship outside the UFC, defended that belt once, and also held the Bellator Heavyweight title at one point as well. Excuse me, had to cough for a second. But yeah, held the Bellator Heavyweight title, 3 UFC performance bonuses in his career, and is currently the tallest fighter on the UFC roster at 6'7". 5-1 in his last 6 fights too. He is on a crazy run. Has only lost a split decision over Cyril Gane that most people thought Volkov won. Majority of people gave that fight to Volkov. Unfortunately, it went to Gane. But Volkov has come back with a split decision win over Jailton Almeida. And I would love to see him get a title shot at some point. He's been a dark horse in this division for a long time. And similar to Curtis Blades, just has been right there on the doorstep of a title shot for so many years and just falls short at the last second. So with Volkov streaking right now, I know they got to settle business between Aspinall and Gane, but I would love to see Volkov get a title shot in the UFC before it's all said and done, especially with a win over Pavlovich. I mean, you got to give him a title shot at some point. Hopefully they can work that out, but time will tell. But now we come to the number 1 contender and a guy that is going to be fighting for the belt next, and that is Cyril Gane. Bongamin is 13-2 in his UFC career with notable wins over Alexander Volkov twice, Sergey Spivak, Tai Tuivasa, Derek Lewis, Jairzinho Rozenstruik, and Junior Dos Santos. He did hold the interim UFC heavyweight title at one point, won that against Derek Lewis, and when he attempted to unify, he did come up short. Also held the TKO heavyweight title outside the UFC with 2 defenses there as well. Came up playing basketball of all things, did not start training MMA until he was in his early, maybe it was mid-20s, I think. Made his MMA debut, or made his Muay Thai debut back in 2016. Did not debut in MMA until 2018. So didn't even start combat sports until about 10 years ago, which is crazy. Just no training at all, and then just jump right in. But Gane, one of the most athletic guys in the heavyweight division. He has exceptional movement for the division and very good Muay Thai striking. Challenged for the heavyweight title 3 times, lost against Francis Ngannou and John Jones. And then his title shot against Tom Aspinall was looking good for Gane, but he accidentally poked Aspinall in the eye. Aspinall couldn't see and still dealing with that issue today. So when I say we got to work things out between Gane and Aspinall, that's what I mean. You have to run that fight back when Tom Aspinall comes back, because Gane looked really good in the first round, and that's the best anybody's looked against Tom Aspinall. So you've got to run that fight back whenever Aspinall is healthy. Hope he heals up soon because we got to get that fight. But Gane will 1000% be challenging for the title when Aspinall comes back. It's not even a question. You have to make that fight again. So as soon as Aspinall's ready, Gane gets the next shot. It'll be his 4th time stepping into the cage with the heavyweight title on the line. Got to think if he loses that one, it may be his last. There's no way you could challenge for a title 4 times and come away empty-handed every single time. So, arguably the biggest one for Cyril Gahn coming up. I mean, they're all huge, but you got to think when it's most likely your last one, it's a must win. So, Cyril Gahn's going to come out ready for that one. I can't wait to see that rematch. Hopefully, it'll be as exciting as the first fight was before the eye poke. But on that note, that does take us to the reigning, defending, undisputed UFC heavyweight champion. We have been through so many fighters, 11 UFC divisions, the top 15 of each one. That is 165 contenders and 11 champions. So we've been through 176 fighters in the Meet the Fighter series, and now we've got the final one, the baddest man on the planet, the heavyweight champion of the world, England's Tom Aspinall. Aspinall is 15-3 in his UFC, pardon. God, that was a casual moment. God, they're going to flame me in the comments for that. I know it. 15-3 in his MMA career. Notable wins over Curtis Blades, Sergey Pavlovich, Marcin Tybura, Alexander Volkov, Sergey Spivak, and Andrei Arlovsky. He won the interim title against Sergey Pavlovich when John Jones was injured. Jones was actually set to defend against Stipe Miocic, got injured, and they made the fight between Aspinall and Pavlovich, and then Jones just came back and defended against Stipe. Anyway, never fought Tom Aspinall, so Aspinall actually defended that interim title one time against Curtis Blades before Jones eventually retired and Aspinall was promoted to the undisputed champion. Also had multiple amateur titles as well, has won 7 performance bonuses inside the UFC in just 10 fights. That is crazy. Aspinall in his UFC career has only seen the second round one time. It was against Andrei Arlovsky in his second UFC fight. Arlovsky made it just over a minute into the second round before Aspinall submitted him. And yes, in 15 wins, Aspinall has a 100% finish rate. Just insane. He was putting everybody away, which is why so many people wanted to see him against John Jones. And of course, like I mentioned, that one UFC loss was the freak knee injury against Curtis Blades. The fight with Cyril Gahn was ruled a no contest. But Aspinall has potential to go down as one of the best heavyweights of all time, but has to get his eye fixed up, got to get healthy. And it was just such a bummer when that fight happened the way it did, because here's the thing about the heavyweight division. Since January of 2022, there have been 3 undisputed heavyweight title fights. And you heard that right. In the last 4 years, the undisputed heavyweight title has been on the line 3 times. Francis Ngannou when he defended against Curtis Blades, or not Curtis, I'm sorry, Cyril Gahn, when he defended against Cyril Gahn. John Jones when he defended against, or when he won the vacant title, because Ngannou vacated. So John Jones when he won the heavyweight title against Cyril Gahn, the vacant title. And then John Jones when he defended against Stipe Miocic in a fight that nobody wanted to see. 3 times. 3 undisputed heavyweight title fights. Technically 4 if you include Aspinall and Gahn. But the thing is, with the fight being ruled a no contest, it doesn't go on anybody's record. So it's essentially like the fight didn't happen. So the belt was successfully won or defended or whatever it is 3 times in 4 years. And just for context, Merab Dvalishvili, the bantamweight champion last year, attempted 4 title defenses before losing the 4th one. So the bantamweight title was on the line more in a calendar year in 2025 than the heavyweight championship has been in the last 4 years. The title picture at heavyweight has been in absolute shambles. And Tom Aspinall was supposed to come in and reset it. Now, it was immense pressure on his shoulders, but at least with the fight between Aspinall and Gahn, you had an undisputed champion and a challenger. Somebody was going to walk out of that cage as the undisputed champion, and the eye poke happens. Now Aspinall's been out since then. He's still not 100%. He's still having problems with his vision, and the title just lays dormant again. Nothing against Tom. This is not Tom Aspinall's fault. A lot of people are blaming Tom Aspinall for this. I am not hating on Tom Aspinall. That is outside of his control. That is not his fault. And he should not be stepping in that cage if he's not 100%. If he can't see, I get it. Totally get it. But it's just a frustrating sense of the heavyweight title picture in the last few years. We need this division to be stabilized in 2026 desperately. Because the heavyweight champion of the UFC, that is one of the most prestigious titles in all of combat sports. The heavyweight division may not be the strongest right now, but when you're the heavyweight champion of the world, you're a big deal. It doesn't matter. You are a big deal. You are somebody if you're the UFC heavyweight champion of the world. You are considered the baddest man on the planet. And the fact that this title has just been in flux for 4 years. We need stability in this division in 2026. With Aspinall's injury, it's not going to happen in the first quarter. Summertime, we got to figure something out. And again, it's nothing against Aspinall, but if he cannot get in there and defend his title, let's get someone in there that can fight for the title. And I know I'm ranting right now about this, and again, this is supposed to be Tom Aspinall's segment, but you can't talk about the state of the heavyweight division without, without the champion. So it has just been such a frustrating saga for the heavyweight division. I really hope that Tom Aspinall is able to get healthy because if he has to vacate, it's already bad enough that John Jones's shadow is looming over the division because he never defended against Tom Aspinall, so there will always be that question. And the fact that he beat Cyril Gahn in such a dominant fashion, if Gahn comes in and beats Aspinall, kind of hurts too, but at least we have something happening. At least we have the division moving. Right now, it's just been stagnant. And let's be real, that John Jones defense against Stipe Miocic, we all knew how that was going to go. Nobody wanted to see that. Stipe hadn't competed in 4 years and he was 42 years old. Nobody wanted that fight anymore. Nobody wanted to see that. So what are we doing? This division is one of the most crucial in 2026 because we have to get this right. We have to get the heavyweight division moving again. It is stagnant. It is thin. We got to get these contenders coming up. We got to push these prospects, and we've got to get the title picture in order in 2026. That is a must for the UFC. And it will be a massive failure on the UFC's part if they cannot get this title picture moving and steady and consistent by the end of this year. Stipe was such a great champion because he defended his title consistently. And we have not had that since Stipe lost his title and Francis Ngannou left. So shout out to Tom Aspinall. I think he's a phenomenal talent. We just got to get him back in the cage. And again, I'm not faulting him at all. His eye injury is 100% legit. He's got to deal with it. But we've seen other fighters like the light heavyweight division. Yuri Prochazka got injured. Jamal Hill got injured. Dominic Cruz back in the day at bantamweight got injured. They vacated. If Tom Aspinall cannot defend his title within a year, let's vacate. Let's get the title picture moving. Come back when you're 100% if you can. Hopefully it's Tom Aspinall, though, because if we lose out on him too, oh my God, the state of this division would just be an absolute shambles. But we got to get this stabilized. Hopefully the title picture clears up in 2026. Kind of a rough way to end Meet the Fighters with such a long rant, but the state of the division just drives me crazy. It drives all these MMA fans crazy, but hopefully we can get that stabilized in 2026. Thank you guys so much as well for tuning into the Meet the Fighters series. I put so much work into this in so many hours. If you ever get to meet my wife, she could tell you. I put so many long nights into this. It was such a long project, an arduous task, but it's kind of relieving that it's done, but it's also a little bittersweet in a way just because of the amount of time and effort I've put into this. But it's been so much fun. I can't wait to bring you guys more conversational topics and more of a podcast style and get my face back out there. Just more of a chill, relaxed podcast setting. That'll be a lot more of the videos I post going forward. This was kind of a one-off just for some of the newer fans and fans that are newer to the channel just to get reintroduced to the fighters or meet them for the first time. But it's been so much fun. I can't wait to bring you guys some more podcast style content soon. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.